Hello everyone, this is Superstar BGL 23, and today I want to give a review of my movie Resident Evil. And I'm gonna give a review of all the 5 movies that I've seen by far. Now let's start with the first one. The first one, let's say let's say I liked it. I liked it. I'm saying that right now. I liked it. That movie, but the only thing that I had with it is that there were none of the characters of the Resident Evil world. You know? Mhm. None of them. I expected Jill Valentine or maybe Chris Redfield, but none of the characters were in that movie. So when I looked at the movie, I just saw it as a zombie movie, you know? Just chill. Just looked at it like that. And yeah, I gotta be honest, it was okay, you know. For a zombie movie, it was okay. But if you're talking about the Resident Evil movie, then it sucked, you know. And it was in the cinema that I saw it, and that was the reason that I went to the cinema. I heard Resident Evil, and it's a great game, you know. It's based off a game, and I like that game. All of them. I played Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Resident Evil Dead Aim, Code Veronica, and even the Revelation. I played all those games. I liked it. So when I saw it, the movie Resident Evil, I thought, nah, that ain't right, man. For a Resident Evil movie. But as a zombie movie, it was okay. Not the best, but it was okay. And I gotta say, that room where they were with the lasers, you remember? That room, when I saw the lasers in the game, Resident Evil 4, I saw that came back, you know? And the movie was from 2002, and the game was in 2004. So it's safe to say that the movie Resident Evil 1, the lasers, they came with it, you know? They had it first. And the game in 2004, they used it again, you know? So that idea was from the movie. Now we go to Resident Evil 2, the movie. They call it Resident Evil Apocalypse. And that movie, the Nemesis came, you know? And as far as I know, I played the games, and it was Resident Evil 3, the video game, Resident Evil 3. That is called the Nemesis. In the movie, the Nemesis, he came in the second part, Resident Evil Apocalypse. I thought, okay, that that doesn't really matter for me, you know. But it was something. I liked it. I liked it. I, you know, the Nemesis, he runs after you all the time. And maybe, oh, what I forgot to mention in the first movie, the lead role character was Alice. But everybody's talking Alice. Who is that? She is not in the Resident Evil world, you know? And in Resident Evil Apocalypse, that, that is the movie Resident Evil 2. Alice had again the lead role. And finally, you had Jill Valentine. and I thought maybe she would be the lead role from there, but nothing like that. Every time Jill tried to do something, then Alice was there to top it off. Let's say in the church, there was a part in the church that Jill, Jeff Valentine, they looked and they saw the liquors on the wall, on the ceiling, and they looked down and they were terrified. But they were quiet. She was with her partner, and they were really quiet. You could see the tension every day. It was really exciting. So I thought it's okay. But suddenly Alice, out of nowhere, she comes through the window. She comes through the window on a motorcycle, and she kills all the lickers. All of them. And just like that. And now she has superpowers. So that was something, it was something that Jill should have done. But I don't understand the thought process of that and what that has got to do with Resident Evil. But it sucked, you know. And every time Alice, she told that the people, they did something to her, when that was in the first movie, the way it ended, or almost the end, the last part of the movie, she was in the laboratory and they experimented on her, and they did something to her. So I think that's the reason that she got the godlike powers. But the thought process, I don't know, because she's fighting all the zombies and she doesn't have a gun, but that doesn't matter. She kicks everybody down to the ground. So there's no excitement anymore for the people who are watching. There's no excitement anymore because Alice, every time she comes, she steps in and she's got the lead role. Don't know why. I don't know who she is, but every time she comes, bam, then everything is okay. And I gotta say, in that movie Resident Evil Apocalypse, there was a guy, he came in. I really thought that was Chris Redfield because Chris Redfield, he should have been in part 1, but he wasn't there. So I really thought that was Chris Redfield, but no, it was Carlos. And Carlos is maybe the only character in the whole entire movie series of Resident Evil that I can say, this man, his role, the role that he plays is good. So, and yeah, and also the trailer of Resident Evil Apocalypse, the things that they show in the trailer are really different from the things that they show in the movie. And you know what really pissed me off? What really, really pissed me off is when the Nemesis and Alice, they the soldiers, or I don't know what guys they are of, from Umbrella or something. They wanted to see who was stronger, Alice or the Nemesis, and they fought against each other. Alice and the Nemesis, they fought against each other, fist fight. But nah, man, and that for me it spoiled me. That spoiled it all for me. I thought, nah, what's this? What's this, man? The Nemesis in the game, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the video game, the Nemesis, he followed you all around. He had his rocket launcher, his machine gun, you know, and it was impossible to kill him at that moment. In the beginning of the game, till almost the end, it was impossible to kill him because you could try and he fell on the ground, you know, when you hurt him very, very bad. And then he gives you ammo. He lies there on the ground, he drops some ammo, you take it, you go away. But then after a while, he was there again. If you went to a room, you get there was the Nemesis again, trying to kill you. And I really liked that game. That was the first Resident Evil game that I played. And that's why I really liked it. I liked it. That's why when I saw the movie and I saw the Nemesis, he got beat up by Alice. Alice with her superpowers. Why? I don't understand. And that Resident Evil Apocalypse, I also saw that in the movie theater, and it was just a waste of money because I didn't like it at all. Maybe it's me, but that wasn't Resident Evil. That the Nemesis was in there and that he looked around, tried to beat people up, all the stars member. He was searching for all of them, and that was his mission. And also what I didn't get is the Nemesis. The Nemesis, he was made, he was a bioorganic creation, he was a creation. But in the movies, the Nemesis is somebody who mutated into him. So Alice and another guy, I don't know exactly what his name is or was. When they reached the end, because they were in the laboratory and they had to go to the surface, and I know that the guy, he got scratched up, and he was mutating, and a few soldiers, they came in, or they were scientists, they took him and they put him in the Nemesis program, and that's how the Nemesis became, or he became the Nemesis. I don't understand, because in the video game, it's based off a video game, and that is not what happened. That is not what happened. But anyway, so for me, it was a letdown, and I thought, not anymore. Now we go to Resident Evil 3, the movie. That was Extinction. Okay, that it was the first time that you see Albert Wesker at maybe the 17-minute mark of the movie. Finally, you see Albert Wesker. He's also a character who was since Resident Evil 1. He was there. He was the one with the master plan. He was the one with the master plan. But in Resident Evil Extinction, finally they introduce him. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Why? Why not in part 1? Because he is the man with the master plan. Actually he was, but you know what I mean. He's the guy with the master plan. And at the 17-minute mark of the movie Resident Evil Extinction, then you see him. I don't get it. And they showed that the whole world was turning into a desert. A desert. The virus, the T virus, it was killing all the plants. That is also something I don't understand. Because the virus is something that mutates things, you know? So if you get it in your body, you change. But plants, plants, trees, they don't get affected by that. People do, but plants, So that for me, I borrowed it from a friend. I borrowed it from a friend because I had enough of that thing, the way it was going. And all this time, Alice, she is the one who is the lead role. But Alice is not a character in the Resident Evil world. So that's why a lot of people, fans, they see it and they got irritated, you know. And then you have Mike Epps. Mike Epps, he comes in, you know. He was in part 2, he was also there, you know. He came in part 2, Resident Evil Apocalypse. There you had Mike Epps. I think for comedy relief or something like that. He didn't need to be in there. Extinction. He got scratched up, you know, by one of the zombies. And he changed. But I don't understand the thought process of it all, you know. And what I don't understand is, no, what I do understand, but I don't know why they put it in there, is the room with the laser, you know, the long room with the lasers. In Resident Evil Extinction, they used it again. And I've seen a lot of things in Carlos. This guy, he dies in this movie. I think it was okay, you know, the way he light his cigarette, you know. But he light his cigarette and there was a tank or something like that. There was gas. A lot of zombies came after him, you know. He was in his truck. And then he blew himself up, you know. He blew himself up. And that was okay. That was okay, you know. I thought, okay, he killed a lot of zombies. But Carlos, for me, he was a favorite character. And I liked him a lot, but in the storytelling, the story that they wrote, he got killed. And at the end of the movie, I know they made a lot of Alice's. They made a lot of Alice's clones, you know. It's also something Resident Evil clones, they don't match up together, you know. And then it just was a waste of time, really. Oh, and I forgot one thing. The Tyrant. He came also in Resident Evil Apocalypse. The Tyrant. He came in the Resident Evil Apocalypse, and it was okay, you know. But he didn't look like the Tyrant. I can honestly say he didn't look like the Tyrant, you know. But and again, the room with the lasers, or I don't know, maybe I got it mixed up. I think I got it mixed up. But also what I forgot to mention is Resident Evil Apocalypse. You have that part where Alice is running and a helicopter is shooting at her, you know. Is shooting at her, and all the windows break, but the bullets don't hit her, you know. And she's running. But that part they got from Resident Evil Code Veronica, the video game, you know. I forgot. I forgot to say that. So okay, we got Resident Evil Extinction, and all it ended with all of the clones. And I thought, okay, you know. But then it was part 4, the movie Resident Evil part 4. Part 4 they call Resident Evil Afterlife. And there in the 5-minute mark, the start of the 5-minute mark of the movie, maybe 10 minutes in the movie, all the clones got killed by Wesker. I didn't get that. I mean, what was the whole point of the movie? What was the whole point? Right? You got all those clones. You let all those clones go into a building. Wesker managed to blow it up. Now all the clones are dead. Now Albert Wesker, he was in a helicopter or a plane, you know, and the real Alice, she was waiting for him. She was waiting for him there. Somehow, I don't know how. So finally, they get there and Wesker stabs her in her neck, right? And Alice, she gets weak and she asks, yeah, what did you do to me? And he said, I took your powers, you know. So Alice, she thanks him, you know. But at that point, nobody is controlling the plane, you know. It's not an autopilot, you know. So the plane, I know it crashed into a mountain, right? And Alice, she didn't have her powers anymore. It's still the beginning of the game, eh? Of the video. No, not the video game. The movie. it's still the beginning of the movie. They go head first into a mountain, and somehow Alice, and they took all her powers, but somehow she survived. Don't tell me how. They didn't explain it. They just said she made it. You know? That's what I didn't understand of the movie, because after a while they go to another scene, right? And you see those things, right? I don't know exactly what, but after that you see Alice, she is walking, just walking away. She has she's just walking away. Nothing happened to her, maybe a few scratches, but for the rest she's fine. She can walk simple, you know. She walks away and she doesn't have anything on her. And we all know Wesker. He's the man. So with him, maybe they use that. I don't know. But you can think about it like that. Wesker, he has also powers, and so you know so that he survived. You can say, hey, it's possible. But Alice, that she survived. uh and in the whole movie, so that's the beginning of the movie, eh? And the whole after that, all the whole movie, there are things that happening, but I can't remember because I I could not register it. You know, I could not register it. It just, I saw it, but it was boring. So at the end of the movie, Afterlife, almost the end, you have a fight scene with let me think, with Chris Redfield, because Chris, somehow they found him in a prison somewhere, in a cave or something like that. So they let him out. So finally, in part four of the movies, Chris Redfield finally comes and he talks to his sister, Claire Redfield. She finally is in the movie. I think she was in part 3. I don't know exactly. Yeah, I think she was in part 3, Extinction. She was there also. But in part 4, Chris finally comes, comes in the movie, and she talks to Claire. He says he's her brother, but she doesn't recognize him because she has amnesia. She had the thing on her chest in the video game. In the video game, it was part 5 that Jill had it on her chest. But here, Claire has it on her chest. And that's why she couldn't remember Chris. You know? And I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And also, she didn't remember Alice. And part 3, Resident Evil Extinction, was the movie. There they were homies. She meet Alice, they talk. But here in Resident Evil Afterlife, she doesn't know anybody. She does trust Alice, and somehow she gets her mind back for a small part. But she doesn't recognize her own brother. So finally, at the end of the movie, almost the end, then she accepts it. She knows Chris is her brother, and then Chris and Claire Redfield, they're standing together, fighting together against Wesker, you know. And the way the fight went, I like that. I like that. And why? Because it was exactly the same like in the video game Resident Evil 5. The fight, how it went, you know. And I remember that Alice was standing somewhere in the room with two dogs, one on her left, one on her right, and they were just standing there, you know. So I did understand it, and I liked it. In the video game, it was Shiva and Chris Redfield. In the movie, it's Chris and Claire. And because those two are brother and sister, I liked it. I liked it. At least they were characters from Resident Evil, I liked it. And the fight, how it went, okay, it was cool. It was okay. That is maybe the only part that I really like of that game. Of at least in the game I saw it. In the movie, that part I liked in that movie. But the rest, a whole bunch and nothing happens. Zombies who are burrowing in the ground. I just didn't get that. I didn't get that. So now we have Resident Evil Retribution. And that movie, it was a whole mess. It was a whole mess. Barry Burton, I saw that man. He came, Leon S. Kennedy. He came suddenly out of nowhere. Ada Wong. And the part of Ada Wong and Leon S. Kennedy, where they meet each other, at least in the video games, Resident Evil 4, that part was Leon S. Kennedy and Ada Wong. And in the movie, it's Ada Wong and Alice. And they come together, and the first time they met, they were fighting, and it was exactly the same. That Alice, I remember that, let me think how it was. I remember that Alice, she took her knife. I remember it was all in slow-mo. She took her knife, and the gun from Ada Wong was flying in the air, and everything went in slow-mo. In slow motion, everything went, and I remember that at the end, Ada Wong had her gun, but before she could aim it, Alice already took her knife and had it to her throat, and that part, it was exactly like it was in Resident Evil 4, but only it wasn't Alice and Ada Wong, it was Leon S. Kennedy and Ada Wong. But Leon S. Kennedy, in that movie, I don't know what they done with him. He's one of my favorite characters, but I just didn't see what they did with him. He didn't act like Leon S. Kennedy, If you play the movies, you'll know what I mean. Of if you play the games, if you play the games and if you've seen the movie, then you'll know what I mean. That what I, is what I was saying. Wanted to say, but really, man, yeah. So that part I didn't like it, and Albert Wesker in Resident Evil Afterlife, this guy died in a nuclear explosion. Nuclear explosion. That's how the movie ended. He died. He was in his plane. I remember he was in his plane. He looked, he heard something. He looked in a paper sack or something like that. Paper bag. Paper bag. He looked something like that. He moved them all. He saw a bomb on the wall of the plane. Right? And at that moment, the camera was outside and we were looking from the outside. We were looking at the plane, And you didn't see Albert Wesker jump out or something like that. Nothing like that. And immediately after that scene, so you see inside of the plane, Albert Wesker is looking at the wall of the plane. And at the moment it goes outside, the camera goes outside, it explodes. Right? That was part 4 in the movie, part 4. And part 5, somehow he survived. Somehow he survived. And they didn't explain how he just survived, and you just gotta accept it. I didn't understand it. And what I didn't like at all is what they said in Resident Evil Extinction. I forgot to say that, Resident Evil Extinction, that was part 3. They showed that the whole world was turning into a desert. You saw the whole planet, Earth, and it was sand. It was dying. But somehow in Resident Evil 4, the movie, everything is okay. Everything is fine. And that is just what I didn't get. I didn't understand that. Why? They don't explain anything. And that's a real problem, And then 5, in Retribution, Albert Wesker is still alive, but in the end of part 4 he got blown up. I didn't understand it. And they didn't explain it at all. So you see, and somehow Albert Wesker, he was fighting against Chris Redfield and Claire Redfield. But somehow Chris Redfield and Claire Redfield, they just vanished. Out of thin air, they just vanished. That's also a thing, and they didn't explain where those two went. But then part 5, the movie, they're just gone away. And then they didn't explain anything. There was a small part that Alice said, "Where is Claire? Where is Chris?" But that was it. You got no explanation, no nothing. Nothing. So that's what really bugged me, And at the end of Resident Evil Retribution, you could see, yeah, it was somehow Albert Wesker and There were five people. One of them was Albert Wesker. He had Alice and three other people. And Albert Wesker is suddenly the president or something like that, and they're working together. But I don't get it. They were enemies, right? And in Resident Evil Afterlife, Albert Wesker tried to kill them. But in part 4, Retribution, they're helping each other, you know? Wesker is helping them. I didn't get that. Why? I don't understand. And the whole point, the thing what I did see was that Albert Wesker, he had the virus in him or something like that. And Alice, she bonded with the virus on a positive level or something like that. And that's why he wanted a little bit of her blood, you know. But it just didn't make any sense. It just didn't make any sense. So, and that's how it ended. They were friends, buddies, you know, and they had to fight against a whole lot of creatures, you know. So I think there's going to be a sequel to that, you know. There's going to be a part 6, but I didn't like it at all. And I gotta say, from all those movies, all those 5 movies of Resident Evil, only part 1 and part 2 I did like. I saw it in the cinema. But where the Nemesis got beat up by Alice, that's where it messed up for me, you know. When I saw that, I was done with it, you know. Because everything is Alice, 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 Alice. She steals all the scenes of the main characters of Resident Evil, the video game. She steals all those scenes, all those scenes. And look, if you're a fan, it's big. The chances are big that you agree with me. Alice, she didn't need to be in there. And that she has godlike powers, that's just making it worse, you know. She can just beat up all the zombies without any effort, without a gun or a weapon, you know. And I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. Part 3, 4 and 5 of the movies, I borrowed them all from friends, you know. It was really, I saw it and it really, I really didn't like it. It really bugged me when I saw it. And I wasted my money on the cinema for part 2. And if I think about it, the way it was going, since part 1, you have Alice. She's the main character. That I thought, who is Alice? Right? But I put it aside. I thought, hey, it's just a zombie movie. I didn't think it as Resident Evil, because if I would think of it as Resident Evil, it would ignore me, you know. Ignore. No, the name. I tried to ignore the name, but it would bug me. It would bug me. Serious. So I looked at it with an open mind, I just looked at it as a zombie movie. Resident Evil 1, it was okay. If you're talking about Resident Evil, uh, then it's not okay, because none of the main characters of the Resident Evil are in that movie. Let me make something clear. The movies, you have 5 movies, 5 Resident Evil movies, right? And all the time it was Alice, 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 you know. But look, part 1. Now I'm talking about the video games that I played. Part 1, it was Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. They first are outside. They are searching for the Bravo team. The Bravo team was Rebecca Chambers and the other guy, I forgot his name, but they were looking for them, you know. Dogs came. They went to a mansion. Albert Wesker was also there, you know, and Albert Wesker was then a good guy because it was part 1. He was a good guy, but in the back of his mind, he knew he had a plan, you know. It was his whole mysterious master plan. Nobody knew about it, but later on, in part 2, part 3, part 4 of the video games, then you see he was just acting, you know. He had his own plan. But since part 1, Albert Wesker was there, you know. And part 2, there he had Claire Redfield and Leon S. Kennedy. Leon S. Kennedy, it was his first time as a policeman. He came in the city, all the zombies, you know. And Claire, she went to the same city to search for her brother, right? And I remember, if Leon wasn't there, Claire wouldn't be alive right now. Because there was a part that Claire Redfield, she was running away from a zombie. She didn't have a weapon. She went to a door. She opened it, and in front of her was then Leon S. Kennedy. And he shot the zombie in his skull, you know. But the whole thing, Claire was searching for her brother, and Leon S. Kennedy, it was his first day as a policeman. Then you have Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3, that was Jill Valentine. Jill Valentine. And just like in the movies, how it ended, part 1, it ended on the streets. In the video game, that's why I think they tried to take things from the game Resident Evil Nemesis, because in Resident Evil 3, that is really the video game, the Nemesis, the first game that I played, the Resident Evil game at least that I played. And there you saw Jill Valentine and the Nemesis, and the whole entire game, almost the whole entire game, she was running away. She was just running away, you know. That's why in the movie, the Resident Evil Apocalypse, when I saw that the Nemesis got beat up by Alice, who is a character who didn't need to, she shouldn't exist in the Resident Evil movie. But when she beat up the Nemesis, that's why I got angry. because I thought the thought process of it all, I didn't understand it. But in the video game, it's the same way. It's the nemesis, and he's searching for the stars members, who are still alive, and he's trying to eliminate all of them. So, and in the movie, they they got that right. Only that part, I can honestly say they got it right. Then you have the video game Resident Evil 4. Was Leon S. Kennedy again. He was he was yeah, the president. The president, he hired Leon S. Kennedy to save his daughter. And that is what the game is about. Saving his daughter, the president's daughter. But you're playing as Leon S. Kennedy. And then you have Resident Evil 5. Chris Redfield, and Shiva. But that it's okay. Most people, they hated it. They hated the game. But anyway, it's Chris Redfield and Shiva. They went to Africa. There was something happening there, and Chris Redfield, he went there to check it out, and he met Shiva, and everything. From there, the story goes on. And then, so you see, and in Resident Evil 5, there came the executioner, a big guy with a hammer, you know and that is also what bugged me. Since the movies, since Resident Evil Afterlife, they used those slow motion effects, the 3D glasses. It was just too much, man. The slow mo, they used it too much. Resident Evil Afterlife and Resident Evil Retribution, they used the slow mo way too much. And I know they did it only for the 3D effect when you have your glasses on, but I didn't like it at all. If you're not using those glasses, then it just looked like slow motion. But they used it way too much, and that is really what bugged me. I didn't like it at all. But as you see in the video games, nowhere are Alice to be found. Nowhere. And that's why people, they joke of it. They make a joke of it. They say Alice in Wonderland. Then they say this. Alice has superpowers. Didn't need to be done. But really, it's a slap in the face for the fans. Look, I had seen a couple of videos of people. They like the Resident Evil. They didn't play the game, right? They've seen the movies, and then they play the game, and then they got angry because they see that the story in the game is entirely different characters, It's just different than what they had put on the screen, for them to watch. And that's what I'm trying to say. For me, I'm also a fan of the Resident Evil, and that's why when I heard it they're going to make a movie. The movie is in the theaters, the cinema. I thought it's okay. I wanted to see it. But when I go there, I see none of the characters of the Resident Evil. None of the characters that I know of, I've seen them in the movie. And with part 2, every time, every time somebody did something, let's say Jill Valentine, there was a part where she had to save the girl. She turned on the gas. They were in a kitchen, I think. So she turned on the gas, you know, and she had her lighter. She threw it, but the fire went out. And there was Alice again. Alice again. She was there to top it off, to save the day. She was smoking a cigar. She flipped it, It fell on the ground. It touched the gas. Flame on, you know. But again, it's Alice. Alice who didn't have any part in the Resident Evil world. And that's what I just can't stand. I just can't stand. And I'm gonna make a movie review about Iron Man 3. The whole Iron Man series. And what they did to Iron Man 3. The Mandarin. I gotta say this. The Mandarin, what they did with him in the movie, I've seen it. Look, I'm not a fan of Iron Man, but I like the cartoon. I liked it. That's why I went to see the movies. And there they did the same thing. They did something, I'll tell it in my other review of the Iron Man movies, But there it was the same thing. They gave the fans a slap in the face. And I can understand why some people they didn't like it at all. And for me, it's the same thing with Resident Evil. It's the same thing. I mean, Resident Evil, it already has a storyline, right? Keep that story. Keep that story. You can change it a little bit. It's no problem. It's no problem. But if you're changing it too much or you're using the same material every time, like the executioner when he throws the hammer to the screen, then when you have your glasses on, it's like a 3D effect or something like that, you know. But I've seen it in part 4, I've seen it in part 5. It's just, that's why I do understand all those people that complain about the Resident Evil movies and they complain about the Iron Man movies. With Batman, the movies, I've also seen something that they changed completely. And I'm someone also, I think Storm Singh, I saw his movie review. I got the same opinion. I like movies that have a story, a good story. And if it's bad, then okay, you can't always have it your way. And some movies, I think they're bad. But if you make a movie, you change the story, a whole different story, the characters you put in the movie are just different, are not the characters of that video game, you know. And people die, but somehow they come back, and nobody explains why. Then that's what you're gonna get. People are going to hate it. If you didn't play the games, then okay, I can understand that. If you didn't play the games, but you've seen the movies, then, or maybe you've seen one, then okay, then you don't know better, you know. But if you've seen many movies of all those five, and you're not a fan of the Resident Evil movies, then even then you can see some things are just not right. I mean, in part 3 of the movie, Resident Evil 3 Extinction, the whole world was turning into a desert. And part 4, everything is okay. Plants, trees, everything. Doesn't make any sense, right? If you see part 4, part 4, Albert Wesker, he got blown up. And part 5, he's he's alive. They don't explain how. Those 2 points, if you're not a fan, right, and you see that, then that means you'll see, then you'll see what I mean. A part, at least. You'll see it doesn't make any sense. That those two things alone, if you're not a fan, but you like movies, right? If you see those things, then you'll know it ain't right. It ain't right what they've done to the movie. Right? And look, me personally, I like I said before, I like movies that have a good story, right? But if the story is whack, it doesn't make any sense, then nah, man. Then I'm just going to hate it, you know? I don't like it. And I gotta make something clear. I don't have nothing against the actors that Mila Djokovic or something like that. She plays Alice. I got nothing against her. I got nothing against her. It's just the story, the man that thought of the story, and I think it's Paul W.S. Anderson. Look, I don't know what you did with the Resident Evil movies. I don't mean no disrespect, but the only thing I want to ask you is, did you play the games? Did you play the games? Because all the things that I've seen, look, you can make a movie, right? You you just think about the story, you make it, you know, you put all those things in there. Okay, that's great. But if you switch it up like this, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's not Resident Evil anymore. And I gotta be honest, just as a zombie movie, people may like it, but I gotta be honest, I still hate it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. For a zombie movie, if you look at overall all those movies, then it sucks, you know. I really think it sucks. So seriously, man. And people asked for a reboot, just like they did with Spider-Man. I and RoboCop. I have to see that movie, but they rebooted it also. And that's what I mean with Resident Evil. They should reboot it, and Paul W. S. Anderson, look look at the let's play on the internet of Resident Evil, or at least play the games. And if you don't have time for that, then just put it in the hands of a fan, you know, somebody who knows the storyline, who got all the things correct, straight in his mind, and then make the movie. But if you just put everything in there, use special effects, and Alice in Wonderland, she got superpowers, because no, then that's what you're gonna get. It's like this. Alice, she shouldn't be in there, you know. And even if she was in part one, she was in part one of the movies Resident Evil 1. But for me, when I saw it, that how it went on, how it went on, it was again Alice in part two. It was Alice, and all the scenes that were meant for Jill, Alice was there to top it off. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. And Leon S. Kennedy and Claire Redfield, at least in part 5, Alice got beat up. And I'm sorry, she's the main character, at least in the movies that they call Resident Evil. But she got beat up by, I think, Rain. But that's okay. I like that. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. But seriously, what you've done with the movie, look, I ain't a director, but even I can come up with a better story than that, because what I've seen is not Resident Evil. I'm sorry. That what you did. Mm-mm. And the last thing that I need to say about it is Paul W. S. Anderson. I know you made the Mortal Kombat, and that was a great movie. That what you did? That was a great movie. Liu Kang, huh? Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, and they're fighting the 10th tournament, and and it was the one tournament that decided if the world would be coming into the outworld, and Shao Kahn came and they won. But somehow Shao Kahn he Shao Kahn he broke the rules. He lost, but still he wanted to come to Earth. And that was a great movie. And then you see the difference between Mortal Kombat 1 and then Mortal Kombat 2, Annihilation. Mortal Kombat 1, you did, Paul W. S. Anderson, and it was a great movie. It still is. And then Mortal Kombat Annihilation, somebody else did that. And you saw the difference. It just was not that good. But Paul W.S. Anderson, that means you can make a good story, you know. Mortal Kombat, I got respect for you, you know. You made that movie. It was a great movie. It was a great movie. I don't have any complaints about that movie. It was just great. And why don't you just do the same with Resident Evil? I don't understand. Why don't you just do the same with Resident Evil? Because it's just what you did with Resident Evil, man. I can see you didn't look at the replay or a let's play. You didn't play the game at all. You just made a story, put all that in there. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it's not Resident Evil. So me too. I'm asking for a reboot. And if it's finally this far, then let somebody else come up with a story and a fan at least, and then we'll see further. You know, I mean, Jeff Valentine, that girl. Oh, hey, oh, okay, sorry. But you know, you know what I'm talking about. Jeff Valentine, all those characters, you just put them in there. Put them in there. Why? I mean, it's good that you put them in there, but it looks more like you've forgotten them. So then in part 4 of the movies Resident Evil, you put Chris Redfield, he's in a jail, and the guy who played Chris Redfield, he was also in the movie Prison Break. So then in Resident Evil, he's in a prison, you know. That's where they found him. I mean, and like somebody else said before, there's just too much wrong with this movie. Too much. If I have to say everything, then tomorrow I will not be finished yet. So that's why I will end it here. But really, Resident Evil, all those movies till 5, it wasn't good at all. Nope. I'm sorry. If you haven't played the game, I would advise you to play the game if you've seen the movies, because what they show in the movies, that is not how the game goes. Not at all. And some people, like I said before, if you play the game, some people have played the game, they've seen the movies first, they play the game after that, and then they saw, hey, the movie is just trash. The story is better. For the people who've only seen the movie, I would advise you, if you like Resident Evil, or maybe you think it sucks, the movie, then I would advise play a game, a Resident Evil game, or look at a Let's Play. Then you see what's different. And if you're just a fan, then you already know what I'm talking about. But honestly, there's just too much to talk about what's wrong with this movie. So I'm sorry, Paul W.S. Anderson. Hey, you know, I got respect for you, for everyone. So for you, I got the same. I don't mean no disrespect with anything that I said. I'm just telling it like it is because many times, let's say Indiana Jones, and in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, right? Some people compare Lucas Arts or George Lucas. Some people compare him with Michael Bay, and I don't know personally. I think that Michael Bay made a few couple of bad movies, you know. So they compare Michael Bay or George Lucas. They compare him to Michael Bay because of what he did with the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you know. And I got the same opinion with that. I got the same opinion with that. Aliens is too far, too far. It just that's not Indiana Jones. Aliens, nah, that's not Indiana Jones anymore. And that's also what ruined it for me with that movie. But some people say that George Lucas made a worse movie. It's just that bad. Even Michael Bay can do better, or did better. And I guess it's a real disappointment. If somebody says that, I think it's a real letdown. You really did bad. And Paul W.S. Anderson, you need to be careful, man. Because if you go on like this, just making movies, and it really looks like you're just making the movies to make money off it, you know? Just for the name, because there are a lot of fans of Resident Evil. So you make a movie, you call it Resident Evil, and you'll make a lot of money because most people they first they have to see the movie. I'm like that. I first have to see the movie, and then I can say it's bad or it's good. I don't listen to other people. But what I've seen you done, what you've done to this movie Resident Evil, if you keep on going like this, the same thing is gonna happen to you. The same thing. And hey, I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it real. So people, that's my review, my movie review of Resident Evil. And let me know what you think about it. Just keeping it real. Peace. I'm out.